You know what, for this video, we're gonna need to grab this. This is my RF 70-200 f2.8 L series USM lens made by Canon. I have made a few videos about this lens. I think I called this the epic travel lens in my initial review of this thing. This has ended up becoming the lens that I use to get most of my work. Most of the paid work that I get comes from this lens and then also does the work. This lens does the work that gets me my payday, gets me paid as a photographer, hands down. It's also kind of my favorite lens to use. When I initially got into photography, I'm just gonna set this down right here. When I initially got into photography, I thought, you know, I love this outdoor adventure lifestyle thing. The first lens that I ended up buying was actually the 15-35 because I thought I'm gonna be shooting landscapes, I'm gonna be out and about. I don't really care too much about the portraiture stuff, even though I have a little bit of that. 35 is kind of the look that I like for a lot of the product and stuff that I do in that arena. And before getting the 70-200, I was always kind of like, you know what, these higher focal lengths for me just sort of compress too much. It's not telling enough of the story. And the 70-200 RF changed that for me. It became light enough that I would take it with me everywhere. I feel like I'm eulogizing this thing. It is back, it does work now. We're gonna get into what happened. I wanna share this story because I think on 2 accounts, I don't want this to happen to you. And I wanna show you guys how I'm mitigating this problem so you can consider mitigating this as well. Using this lens has shown me that I really enjoy finding these really tight angles and these very just slivers of windows of opportunities to try to tell stories. And that's something that I would not have known until I rented the lens, bought it, started using it more, started integrating that into my type of work, doing product photography, doing a little bit more action, adventure, lifestyle type stuff with it, and really seeing its place in my kit, in my niche that it works for me, it works for my style. It's not gonna work for everyone, but for me, favorite lens, most expensive lens, the lens that does most of the work now. It's the 70-200. So this story is as much about the 70-200 in this particular lens as it is about the 2 bags that I've been using predominantly over the last couple of years. For those of you following this channel, you know that I use sort of a day bag when I'm shooting around here in the Pacific Northwest area, with day trips or maybe a one night overnighter. I just recently went out into the forest, no cell service, just out on a mountain, lake, trees, everything. It was great. But in that environment, normally I would have taken my Peak Design 20-liter bag. That's okay, it's a weekend trip or maybe it's just a day trip. I don't want to have a ton of stuff with me. Just give me a couple of lenses, change of clothes, maybe a couple filters and some tools just to make sure that, I can do everything. You know the gig. I should just get my Peak Design 20-liter backpack right here. This is the original, the OG Peak Design first generation backpack. I still have my winter gloves in here. It's now 80 degrees outside because I haven't been using this for the last 2 months since this whole issue happened about how I wrecked my 70-200. And it has to do with how I have this compartment area set up, this little well area, if you can see that. When I'm running this bag as my camera bag for the day, typically what I would do is I would put my camera with a lens on it, usually the 15-35 right on the bottom. And then up top, I may have the 24-70, maybe the 51-2, and then definitely the 70-200. So I'd have those stacked side by side, not on top of each other, but side by side. What that would allow me to do is sort of side zip here to get to the camera and then open the mag latch here to grab either one of those 2 lenses at the top. Where this became catastrophic for me is I was out shooting with Sam. You guys know Sam Ciudar, the one and only Sam Ciudar. And we had just wrapped up a shoot. We'd finished getting some assets for a couple different campaigns that we were working on. And I loaded up this bag, put it in the car. I thought I had zipped everything up all the way. But the challenge here with this bag is both of these zippers can run top to bottom. So you see what that looks like. Just do that right now. Right, so you can have both of these zippers on the top or on the bottom and the bag is fully open. Here's where that becomes a problem. You can half zip this and from the top, if it's sitting down in the car or something like that, it can look like it's fully zipped, right? Or if you're looking at it from the bottom side, you zip this part down, you zip this part over here for whatever reason, right? It can look at certain angles like it's fully zipped. If you're only looking at that bottom zipper, you go, okay, one zipper's here. Kind of my brain fills in this lie that, okay, the other zipper must be fully zipped up. And what ended up happening was for some reason, which I'd never done before, I had zipped this down partially in here, I think to maybe get at something. I don't even know what, because I've never done this in the years that I've had this bag. I think I've had this bag now for I've actually had this bag for I think 4 years now. I got this before they came out with the Gen 2s. So it's been at least 3 years, maybe 4 years that I've had this bag. I've never done this in the entire time I've had this bag, but I guess I didn't get a full zip up on this side. When I got out of the car, lifted this up, both the 70-200 and the 51.2 fell out. That sucked. Like when I heard that sound, all of us heard that sound. We were meeting up with someone. We actually ended up running into another awesome pro photographer, Ben. I'll link everyone down in the description because it's always fun with friends, right? I think Ben said like that hurt my soul. It hurt my soul too. I didn't say it out loud because I couldn't speak, because like just when you hear that sound, it is not good. What ended up happening, and I'll share with you guys this photo of what happened, was I went to go inspect the lens afterwards, and I could see that there was some like separation in the forward element and the front element. And at that point I knew like, okay, this lens is toast. I'm gonna have to send it off for repair. I don't know how much this repair is going to cost. It's not like a minor thing. Like that whole front element is a big deal. I can't have like some weird aberration or like I just can't have this. You can't have this and take photos with this on here. I didn't even try. It was like I was too heartbroken to even like then mount that lens up to see what would even happen. I took a photo of the front element just so I could remind myself never to do that ever again. And I even had the hood on this lens. So if I want to fully recreate this, like this wasn't in the bag by itself, just skating around in there all on its own. Typically when I'm transporting it, if it's not up on that shelf, I'll throw the hood on top of it like this. And then I will drop this into the like cloth bag that comes with the lens like that. Now, I do not normally travel like this. This is like for day trip type stuff. If I'm going to be doing a larger trip, if I'm getting on a plane or going somewhere like overnight for at least like 2 nights, I'm probably taking my Peak Design 40 liter, which has a lot more like padding and protection for getting like knocked around on the move, right? And this is like, again, I've never had a problem having a lens get knocked around in the Peak Design 20 liter everyday backpack. It was just, I made a stupid mistake. A mistake that like anyone can make with these like side access zip backpacks that have like 2 zippers on any type of zipping area, right? And even with the lens hood on here, which I have dropped my 15 to 35 before with a filter on it, and the filter saved it. I destroyed the filter, but I saved the lens. That was awesome. And I was kind of hoping when I got this up, I actually wasn't too worried at first because I'm like, oh, the hood's on it. It's in the cloth case. It should survive. However, this thing got hit was just so perfectly that, yeah, the front element was destroyed. The story does not end there. What happened next, and I want to share this with any of you who haven't like sent your gear off to Canon for like standard cleaning or anything like that, or if you haven't ever had to send off your glass for repair, this may be some good insight for you so you know what to expect. It was very easy to set up a repair on Canon's website. If you haven't done that, all you need to do is log into your Canon account. If you did not buy your lens from Canon, you'll just plug in your serial number information and whatever, and they'll figure it all out. They figured it out really quick. You can just request a repair then inside of your Canon account once you have the lens or the body that you want repaired in there. And then they'll give you kind of like a rough estimate, which I don't even remember what my rough estimate was. I think it was like $600. What ended up happening is I sent this off. I had to go to my local UPS store. Canon sets everything up. You get it insured, and away it goes. And then about 5 days later, they take a look at it. They give you sort of like your final estimate after they take a look at it. And it ended up costing me $886 to get this lens back. They replaced that forward lens element and just made sure everything was working, tuned it up, made sure the firmware on the lens was all updated and new. And yeah, about another like week or two, I think I got the lens back. I think total I was without this lens for about 3 weeks. I shipped it off the day after this happened. I got the estimate within week 1 or at the end of week 1, week 2, then they were working on it. And then by the end of week 3, I had it back. So really great turnaround from Canon, quite incredible. Cheaper than definitely having to buy a whole new lens, and actually cheaper than buying, like if I properly wanted to punish myself and say, okay, you can't have nice things, then you can't have the f2.8, gotta go buy the f4, right? If this was like just a hobby thing, if I wasn't using this to like make money, I'd probably like maybe go, okay, I'm gonna step down to the f4. Now I do use this lens professionally, so I'm gonna stick with the f2.8, of course, but it was nice that it was still cheaper than even buying the f4 version of this lens, or at least that's what was going through my head as I was thinking about like this video, because I think I mentioned this in another video, but I'll say it again. I love this Trust and Timber quote of like, the best camera is the camera you can afford to replace. And that's true with your lenses too. If you have an interchangeable lens system camera, whether it's Canon or Sony, whatever, make sure that you either have insurance or you have the ability, money set aside, to replace or repair a lens or a body that gets damaged, because that's your workhorse. Or if that's your hobby, like you don't want to be out on your hobby. You don't want to be out on your professional work. You want to be able to do those things. And so that's a good reminder to anyone who is going to be buying expensive gear, or if you're thinking, oh, I might need to upgrade to more expensive gear to be able to do the things that I want to do. Make sure you're keeping in mind either how you're going to insure that gear or set aside money to replace it if need be. If you're a working photographer, if you're out there doing the work. I've been doing this for years now, and this is the first time I've ever had to repair a lens. This put me in a tough spot because last year, as a lot of you know, I had a freak accident to my leg. I couldn't walk. I had to say no to a ton of work last year. So it sucked. It really did suck to have to repair this particular lens. But that's okay. Stuff like this happens. Can't beat yourself up about it. And just be on the lookout for situations like that. Like, is my gear set up in a way? Do I know my gear well enough that I'm not gonna make this mistake, right? You're gonna make mistakes, and just be kind to yourself, and it's okay. It's stuff. It can be repaired. It can be replaced and fixed. You know, no one was hurt in the wrecking of this 70 to 200, except maybe my soul and dreams and some other things. It was a good lesson to learn. I'm now starting to take out the 40-liter Peak Design bag just because it has more padding and protection. I don't use the side access at all. And I find that that's like, because I can get at all the gear, I can't get at that bottom well spot on the Peak 20-liter without opening up the side access, right? Or unless I pull the whole flap up and pull all the lenses out, which that would be a nightmare. But yeah, I've started using the Peak 40-liter even on my day trips, and just like leaving the bag in the car zipped up, or like if I do take it with me, if I need to take it with me, I just lighten that load of that bag, and it's fine. I would much rather love to have like a solid 20-ish liter bag for day stuff. I know there's a lot of options out there. If you have a great like 20 to 25, 26 liter bag that accommodates like a camera with a body, full frame camera with a body, 2 lenses, a few filters, extra batteries, extra cards and stuff. I know there's like the Peter McKinnon Nomadic stuff out there. I know Peak Design has some additional offerings that I'm not a huge fan of that are in that space. I'm curious to know what else is out there. I'm curious to know what you are liking and using, because it may be time to change. It may be time to get something new, but I wanted to at least make this video so you all don't make the same mistake that I did. And if for some reason you find yourself in this same situation, I hope you don't beat yourself up for it, right? Like, you send it off, you get it repaired, you go back out, you take more banger photos, you know, you keep doing the work, you keep doing the deed, and you don't let stuff like this set you back. With that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel, and I'm honored. I'm just honored by all of you who are here. If you haven't done that yet, just make it happen. It's you know, it's a good deal. It's free for you, and it really helps me out, so I do appreciate it. Be kind both in life and in the comments below, and like this video to send good vibes across the internet. I could use some good vibes after after this whole ordeal, so I would really appreciate it. And with that, we'll do it again soon. Later.